There we go. We're live. I'm always a little taken back when that finally actually goes live because I'm like,
Yeah.
did everything work properly? So as
Yes.
I'm like sort of slowly coughing here. All right, so that was a very like unprofessional intro, but welcome everyone to the Impact Tribe Live, where we meet, greet, and learn about leaders who are positively impacting the world. We are streaming live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. I am your host, Ashley Bright, the Message Fixer, and today we're joined by the amazing status quo smashing social impact warrior, Heather Hiscox. And Heather is the founder and CEO of Pause for Change. She's also a national speaker. She's the host of a talk show, The Possibility Project. And now, in the last few months, is officially an author of a pretty amazing book we're going to talk about called No More Status Quo. And so, Heather, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is so much fun. I love it. I always love talking to you. So this will be great.
That's what you say now, but I have some gotcha questions that are just going to come out of nowhere.
I'll get you back.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so I mean, might as well just jump right in, and I'm going to actually reference something that you used in this morning in your post where you said that, and I quote, "I'm a frustrated change maker and why we need to ditch the status quo in social change." And
Yes.
so let's just jump in right there if you don't mind.
Oh yeah. Yeah. People are like, what does that mean? Why are you a frustrated change maker? And I don't know for any of you that are joining in, any of you that have worked in social change. I often refer to it as nonprofit land, but it could be philanthropy land or local government land. I consider those three sectors to be really the intersection of social change. And if you've worked in any of those sectors, you know there is some strange and amazing stuff going on. So that's why I think I started all the work that I have done over the past decade plus of all the different ventures that I've launched, because I was just frustrated looking around and saying, why do we do it this way? Are we actually creating impacts? Like fundraising is wacky, philanthropy is a mess. I know how we work with leaders is really difficult, and there's amazing threads of all of it. So I really try to support other people that hold that tension of like, I love it and I hate it. And that's
Mm.
really the space that I'm in.
Yeah, it's wild, and I've it's interesting. After I went to your event, whenever what was that, 2 or 3 months ago,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that the discussion of your book and the thinking behind the book got me really kind of it sort of my spidey senses kicked in terms of like looking around, and I've now been encountering, whether it's through the HR system or through other kind of large systemic disciplines, if you will, just this acknowledgement of like, what are we doing? And it's this weird space where you've got, I think, a lot of well-intentioned people, and then people that maybe are well-intentioned, but they're kind of ticking off boxes. And then you've
Mhm.
got people like yourself that are looking back there going, I don't know, no more of this sitting around. We got to fix this. So,
Oh,
um,
yes. There's so many opportunities for change. And I know that change is scary to many people and it's like a no-no word,
mhm.
but I love it. I mean, I really, and it's not just change for change's sake. It's not just there for disruption and all of that sort of like move fast and break things that have really hurt a lot of our planet and people in the startup culture. But like, how do we move more efficiently and effectively? How do we use new problem solving skills to address really difficult and challenging issues? And we have tried our best with our best of intentions, but we're not using the right skills to get to answers.
Yeah, and I mean, I always, the time I've interacted with nonprofits in that social impact space, it's I find it to be an interesting dynamic because, as I said earlier, you have people that are there with the best of intentions. They're leading with their heart. They really want to see this changed, but it also then tends to rub up against, if you want to try and create efficiency or optimize or try new things, there's this weird kind of like, wait a minute, are you saying I'm not doing a good job? Like, my heart's in this. And it's a weird sort of an environment I've found to try and have some of those conversations where it's like, no, we want to do good, but can we do like better? Can we be more efficient? And people are like, "Ugh." So I feel like
Yeah.
you've probably got lots of experience with that.
Well, yeah. I mean, what I always lead with the work is that the work is Yes, you're amazing. Yes, you have such fantastic expertise and lived experience and institutional memory and deep and wide relationships. And yes, you're awesome. I'm not saying like you're a hot mess. And you could be a little bit of a hot mess. And there's so much more opportunity for additional love and
Hmm.
care and empathy and curiosity, and just having these new skills to learn in different ways and to share learning. How do we
Hmm.
break through the hierarchies and the silos and just the disconnection that helps to reinforce some of those really poorly designed processes, policies, programs, and that we just kind of throw up against the wall and say, well, I hope it works. Like, really, that's millions of dollars. People's love and
Yes.
care are being invested. Like, we can do better. And again, not saying you're a mess, and you could try a little bit harder, and you could just learn these new skills to really enhance what you're doing.
Hmm. And I appreciate when I was at your event, you were talking about how you and your team can very quickly kind of assess whether what they're doing currently has legs and is having impact, and then offer, like, hey, we can nudge in this way or this way. And so what kind of, I imagine you're working in pretty large organizations, or at least there's a lot of complexity. Like, what are some of the types of organizations you're working with?
Oh, it's a big variety. So a lot of cities, counties, states. So worked with the State Bar of California earlier this year to help them address their onboarding of their process to provide access to legal services for all Californians. Really clunky. No one had touched it in a while. We streamlined it by about 80% time savings that we co-designed and co-created with stakeholders, which was really the magic and the key.
Hmm.
And then they were able to identify some major state laws that they wanted to change that would actually increase opportunities for collaboration and shared resources across and within California to really optimize community members' experiences. So that was great. Work with nonprofits of all different shapes and sizes. Some are tiny, tiny, tiny that might have a staff of 2 or 3 people. Some are, the second largest labor union in the country. That's a different version of a 501c4. And just I love the complexity. I love all the different challenges. And what's interesting about working across the entire country and US is to see, like, okay, what's happening in New York City is really similar to what's happening in San Diego and
Hmm.
Tucson and Wisconsin and all these different places. So that's what really started to show me, like, we are not alone in the need for change, and we're not alone in trying our best, but
Hmm.
we need different skills. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would imagine you sort of touched on it a little bit there, but kind of like uncovering things. So, I would imagine you're talking government agencies in many cases, or large organizations, that there is those layers of, documentation and protocols and bureaucracy. And so it's, to your point, it's like people are trying their best in many cases, but there's a layer one or two down that someone up here is not seeing, or vice versa. And you can very quickly kind of come in and go, hello, look what's
Yeah.
going on here.
Is
So,
I need a champion to get in the door. I must say that. And I
yeah.
think I think you and I have talked about this. Like, I've done a good job of understanding who my customers are, like who my people are that want to hang out with me,
Mm,
because I very quickly make people run from me that are like, oh no, I like power. I like command and control structures. Bye bye.
yeah.
Great. Like, good luck to you. I hope it all works out. And then the other people that are like, where have you been all my life? This is so
Mm,
interesting. I've never learned to work this way, but I've been also feeling this pain, this nudge of wanting to
mm-hmm,
work differently. So I definitely need a champion. But right when I get to work with teams, I work with teams of only 3 to 5 people per challenge. Right when they start to have the permission to not know things, to celebrate
mm,
the uncertainty around the challenge, then to really get rooted in deep care and love with empathy interviewing, and to bubble up all those tremendous insights and things they didn't even realize were happening or that people were feeling, and then to feel empowered to actually try and test solutions before they build, and
mm-hmm,
to get results in 6 weeks or less, to really have clarity and confidence that these solutions will actually help people. It just invigorates folks. It just lights a fire under them of, wow, like, I love my job again. I love my team again. This is a new superpower to add to my toolbox. Like, let's go. What else can we address? What else can we
yeah.
focus on? So it becomes slightly addictive because it's just a more joyful way to work.
That's wonderful. And I mean, it's a lot of it. I mean, I do communication, as you know, and a lot of it is just rooted in a real understanding and empathy and compassion for human beings. And as you said, creating a space where there can be a conversation and things can be learned and surfaced and like, oh, that's an interesting insight, let's put that on the wall. And then people feeling heard, feeling like they've got some skin in the game, and then, as you said, being kind of fired up about, hey, we're going to do something, we're going to fix this. And that's powerful. That's very powerful. So
Yeah.
I'm curious now. So we've talked a little bit about kind of what you're up to now, and I'm curious very briefly to understand kind of what led you to this path. I mean, you've been doing, how long have you been running your organization now?
I think I've been on my own now as an entrepreneur for about 13, 14 years.
Wow,
And Pause for
congratulations.
Change. I also have to look at LinkedIn to look at my anniversaries, but Pause for Change is like the latest, one of the latest iterations. So it's been many years. Yeah.
Got it. And so, what kind of in your background, had you always been kind of with this sort of mindset around having an impact, changing things, or did some things happen to kind of nudge you in that direction?
No, I think I was born with it, honestly. My mom tells hilarious stories from when I was a little girl of just being like, one of the stories she loves to tell, which is like, "Oh, mom, I was like crying in my bed at night or something, and she came in to check on me and was like, 'What's going on?' And I was like, 'Racism, mom.' And I was like 7 or 8. And she's
Wow.
like, okay, I don't know what to do with you. But I mean, you should have known that she would have produced a kid like me, because my
Hmm.
mom was always deeply involved in community organizing and a
Oh,
lot of,
wow.
so I saw that in action. I saw my family in action. I saw my mom really deeply caring about community members. And then my dad being really pragmatic, kind of the other side of the team of saying, okay, I see your vision and passion. And then how are we actually going to do this? Like, if
Uh,
you want to make change, how is this going to happen? So I think as a young age, I was really supported in challenging status quo and questioning what I saw in the reality. And I've kind of always been a troublemaker. I think I was always that kid in class that always had a hand up of being like, is that, how do you really know this? Like, what's the source? And I think through college, it just expanded my learning. I got a minor in African American studies, focused on social injustice with my degree in sociology, and then got my master's in public health, focused on health disparities. So the more I got to experience and learn other viewpoints of the world and really starting to, reimagine what's possible, I think it just kept building and building and building. And then, like, you have your impact tribe. I'm surrounded by brilliant people that bring so many amazing experiences, and I'm always integrating, just
mhm.
always learning and integrating.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's interesting because I have, your story reminds me, my son who's 16, my oldest, he's very inquisitive and he's asking questions and he's always questioning what's going on. And it's interesting you brought up the way your father kind of thought about things, because he's 16, so he's very like, this is wrong. And I've sort of tried to instill in him like, okay, let's step back and try and understand, like, well, why is that happening, and what are the processes or the lack of that's getting in the way. So it's trying to give him some, system or process to think about how to change rather than just being really frustrated by it. So,
Oh, yes, 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 yes. That's so wonderful. I love that you're doing that. And the key is to start with empathy, right?
mhm,
To understand multitude of perspectives. Like, how might people feel on the other side and the different viewpoint? Why might they hold that? I'm always playing devil's advocates with my kids who are 14 and 17. They're just like, Mom, quit it. But I'm like, well, can you imagine how they came to that reality, how they came to that belief and that structure? Like, it's
yeah.
how did you come to yours, right? They're entitled to theirs, and that's what we have to keep doing, is we have to keep connecting. We have to keep talking, especially now in the cycle that we're in, with the election coming. As much as we all hold our beliefs, we have to be open-hearted and open-minded to more deeply understand each other. Because like you said, that's that collective humanity. That's
Hmm.
that shared perspective that's going to make us all richer and better for it.
100%, 100%. So this is sort of a bit of a selfish question for me because my thing is communication, and I know you're up on stages, you're leading workshops, you're doing all sorts of things. So I'd love to just get a sense from you about kind of how the role of communication, or how that's sort of benefited or how that's affected you in your career, and also, did you come by that naturally, or was that something you kind of learned throughout the process?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I love that question. I mean, I think I've always been chatty, like a talker. If
You
anything else,
what?
family, I know, right? But what a lot of people don't know about me is when I was probably like high school through, I would say even like post grad school, I was terrified to speak in public.
Mm,
I had such severe social anxiety and just such a fear of like being wrong or, not being perfect or not saying the right thing or, being challenged or whatever it was. I don't know. I think I just was, part of it was immaturity and part of it was some stuff I needed to unpack from childhood around perfectionism and expectations. But it just came with time. I mean, to me, every time I step on the stage and I don't really feel nervous, like I get a little bit of the butterfly, but it's sort of more of an excitement and like, I just can't wait to connect with people. That's really the energy that I feel now. It feels like a miracle when I stand on stage and I feel ready to go and I feel enthusiastic and supported.
mhm,
That is amazing to me. And that's, I would always say to people, like anything is possible. And I don't mean it as like anything's possible. Like I crocheted on or put on a pillow or whatever, but like, I honestly believe that because I've seen multiple transformations in my life of how I was before and how I was after.
mhm,
So communicating in that way to like large groups, I really love. And what I love the most is finding people in the audience that feel just like I did and do, where they're just like, yes, yes. Like they just want to shout amen, while I'm speaking.
mhm.
I love that because I wish I had that when I was, where they might be now, feeling like you're not alone. You're not imagining things. You absolutely are experiencing these issues and these challenges. So that's like the biggest gift for me.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you mean that, you could have, I mean, there's that opportunity. You've got a captive audience, and this is an opportunity to, as you said, kind of connect. And even if someone takes one thing away
Yes.
that opened their eyes or planted a seed or got them excited, like to me, that's a win. Because that's another person that now is maybe thinking about things a little differently. And wow. So, all
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you for indulging my communication curiosities. But
Yes.
it's such a powerful skill, and we all have it. We just don't all use it the right way. So, um, now I know we want to talk about the book because I want to hear all about this. I love the title. I feel like you've just grabbed like the best title because it just everyone feels this frustration about like status quo. Why? So
Yeah.
tell me about this. I mean, it's obviously the culmination of all of your work. So tell me more about this book. I want to hear it.
Yeah, I say that the book was like living right under the surface of my skin for probably 5 to 10 years before I wrote it. And I really had the courage to do the initial exploration. I follow my own framework of really identifying what I don't know and going to find amazing folks that could educate and inform me. So I did a lot of different interviews with folks to understand like what is a book deal, what is a book proposal. I had no idea. What is hybrid publishing? What's involved with self-publishing? I just talked to many different amazing, generous authors that just shared their experience with me, the good and bad, stuff they wish they would have done differently, all those excellent nuggets of wisdom. And so I reached out to Page Two, which is a great publishing company, woman-owned publishing company out of Vancouver.
Mhm.
And a couple of my friends had published with them and had amazing experiences. And I sent them the first 30 pages, which I joke was like a hair above stream of consciousness. Like no outline, none of that. It was just like on the page.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, this is good. Like, I think we should do this. And so all right. So got to writing. I wrote the whole book in 3 weeks,
Wow.
just pacing around my office voice dictating into my phone and like putting into a Google Doc and then editing, and then the book came out, early 2023. So it's been such an interesting journey of, there's a quote that I found about you're sort of written as you write the book. The
Mm,
process of writing the book just makes you have to be so honest with the reader, with yourself, so clear in what you are there to say,
mhm,
and so loving and comforting to yourself to know that this is a snapshot.
mm,
That, yeah, in 2 years, of course, you're going to want to add new citations or new thoughts or new stories and developments. Of course, like you could do a
mhm.
version, whatever, for the book, but so much of that internal work has to happen to get ready. So it was a really beautiful experience. I really loved it.
That's wonderful. And the fact that it kind of just, as you said, it kind of just was flowing,
Yeah.
like it just been percolating there for
Yeah.
years and years and just kind of, I love how the subconscious works that way.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you can go about your day to day, but we're just going to keep working on this thing over here because it's going to be big. Just you wait.
And it really was this itch that I needed to scratch because I've always been a story lover, storyteller, story collector. I really am a
Hmm.
story collector. I literally have like spreadsheets where I keep track of stories and
Yay,
inspirational
that's great.
moments. Yeah, I recommend it to anyone. Like a searchable spreadsheet is fantastic. And then I just didn't want the framework to only be accessible to folks that could like pay to hang out with me. I wanted it
Mm-hmm.
accessible to anyone that could get the audiobook, get the ebook, get the paperback, and they could really dive in. So it's really very much a step-by-step guide that you really can use the book to feel supported. And
Hmm.
the audiobook is really fun to record. And the book is really written in my voice. It's very casual, very connected and playful. And then it has not only step-by-step tools and things, programs and processes and tools you can use, but then it also has stories to show what it looks like in real life. And then the last part that I think is missing from a lot of our change work is at the end of each chapter, I have these pause and consider sections where I ask the reader, I ask the professional to really think about how they're changed on their learning journey by what
Mm.
they're integrating and the stories they're hearing and what they're trying and how they're challenged and stretched. How do they feel? How do they think differently? Like, what the heck? We just gloss over all that stuff. We're just like, get to solution, hurry, hurry, hurry. But I think there's a lot of beauty and richness and really pausing to reflect and think about how we're connected to the learning.
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. I think it's such a great adage, not just for learning, but for life. I think we are so often kind of
Yes.
moving on to the next thing that, like, if you just stop and kind of like, what did I learn today? And what did I learn from that conversation?
Yeah.
And, I don't have as many days like that as I'd like, but when I do, I'm just taken aback by like, wow, a lot happened today and I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I'm very diligent and like have a conversation. I always take detailed notes during a call because it just keeps my brain connected and it
Hmm.
just helps me remember exactly what we talked about. And then I have this whole process of going through the notes again, putting it into, my Sarah, my tracking system, so I don't lose those notes and conversations with people. And then looking at all those follow-up items. What did they say that I need to go research?
Mm-hmm.
Or what author did they mention? Or what framework? Or what are they doing? Like I really try to reserve time each week that I can be thoughtful.
Hmm.
It's not just like, okay, that was my call for at 10 to 11. Bye. And you move on. Like you said, you go to the 11, you go to the 12, you go to the one, you're just wiped out. I really try to save time for that integration each week.
Well, I mean, I'm learning a lot on this call, but this one especially, because I'm a big one for that. I'm recording, I'm documenting, but like, I'm not sure if I'm doing as good a job as I could be about going back and like, oh, I should research that. Oh, that's a good follow-up point. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, I have extreme FOMO. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm also like, oh no, what if I never get to research that thing? And I have many emails to myself. I have wacky things entered in my calendar. I have entire Google Docs where I'm like, get back to later. So sometimes it's not like everything gets fully understood and researched because that's impossible. But I have weird tricks where I try to save stuff, which, I try to reduce the anxiety of that as well.
Yeah. Well, it's doing it's putting the time in and the effort and at least being aware. Because I think a lot of people are just like, on to the next, on to the next. So,
That's what I've learned. I've started 5 ventures in 13 years, and that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in entrepreneurship is it's all about relationships. And
mm,
not like a slimy, like, how do I convince or trick people to buy my stuff or like manipulate them, but it's like deep, caring relationships of really valuing the people I talk to and really wanting to keep in touch and really wanting to provide benefit to them in any way that I can, even if it's just a referral to someone else. It's really really important to me, and most of my business is word of mouth and referrals because
mhm.
I think I've really prioritized that in my life and my business.
Yeah, it's so important. Um, so now I want to shift gears a little bit. I would love to learn what kind of things do you do in your life that bring you joy?
Oh gosh, I just was thinking about this morning. I was throwing the frisbee to my dog. And I love playing with our dog. He's such a puppy. He's giant. He's like 90 pounds. He's such a goober. I love playing with him. I love throwing the frisbee. I just love giving him belly rubs. Like that makes me so happy. And then, my kids, even though they're enormous humans, I don't understand. Like they're both
I
bigger
can
than
relate.
yeah, like they're so big. It's when my son walks through the house, sometimes I think there's like a man in the house, and I realize like, oh no, that's just Nick. I love greeting them since they were infants. I love being one of the first faces they see in the morning, and I just love their like mushy sleep face. And I just always ask them like, how did you sleep?
Mm.
And for me, it's like I love hearing like, how did you sleep? Did you have dreams? Are you still tired? What do you need? It's like I get to jump in and it's like my mama care time. That
Mm.
brings me such joy. Is like seeing their sweet faces every morning. And
Yeah, as mine have gotten huge and you can't carry them around and they don't want to play Lego anymore, I'm a big one for just the I just do this and it's hug time. No matter what time of day or where we are, it's just hug, bring it in.
yes, oh, my son is such a hugger. I love that too. Even if I'm working, he'll come in and just like nuzzle my neck. My baby.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah,
Nice.
I love nature too. Like nature is my go-to for any time that I'm just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm spinning. I can't find words. I don't know what my next task is. I'm spinning. Like I just don't know what to do. I'll just go stand outside. I'll try
Yes.
to like root and just look at the sky, look at the birds, listen to the sounds, like do something just to feel like, okay, I'm not a heart surgeon. Like nothing that I do is really gonna cause a huge disaster. So like get a grip, sister. Go outside. There's a much bigger universe than you. So like take a deep breath and then get back to it.
That sounds very healthy and I think more people should do that. Just take a breath or as you say, pause. Just pause. Take a breath.
Oh, so much of my own medicine, right? It's like pause, pause, listen to
It's
yourself.
right
Like,
there. It's all around you. Just take a moment.
oh yes, oh yes, yes.
So I'd love to know, kind of on that, on that same sort of journey, I guess, if you will, of joy. Are there any particular shows, podcasts, films, things that just kind of are like your, I don't want to say zone out, like you're not paying attention, but like that are just kind of like, all right, I've fixed as much of the world as I can for today.
Yeah.
I've hugged my kids. What's for me now?
Oh, in the past, when I was first starting entrepreneurship, I just felt like I had to hustle, 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 like work all the time. So, wake up early, work, get the kids up, get them off to school, get them breakfast. They go to school. I would go work my either my job because I was transitioning to like part-time entrepreneurship and then full-time, work hard, grind all day, stop before I was ready, rush to go pick up kids, do homework, hang out, like, hi, I love you, I see you, and then like have dinner, put them to bed, and then work again to like 11 or
Mm,
midnight, and then do it all again and get like five
yeah.
hours. That used to be my reality. And at a certain age, I just realized like that's not healthy. So I really do, I would say 90% of the time I stop working by 4:30 or 5. And now that it's different with drop offs and
I'm
pickup,
kidding.
right? You know how that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really try to not do any work. Even
Hmm.
my partner John and I will stop and we'll maybe do like a little happy hour. We'll have some cheese and crackers, a nice little beverage. We'll play Scrabble, or we have this backgammon game we play called AC Doozy. So we'll play a game, and then it's dinner prep time, and we usually try
Hmm.
to get the kids involved in that. And then it's just TV zone out time. And I
Oh,
used
okay.
to feel like, oh, I should be like working out at this time, or I should be strategizing. But no, I love streaming. I
Mm.
love finding a great series. It can be anything. It can be comedy. It can be like a legal drama. It can be anything. I go all in. I just completely engage with the story. It's how I've always been. It's good and bad because it's sort of an empathic trouble that I have.
Yep.
And then I read before I go to bed. I always read fiction before I go to bed.
Mm.
And I joke with my partner that it's like etch a sketch. It takes my brain and it just shakes off the day
Ah,
and it just clears my mind and I can sleep so much better. The
I
night
love it.
that I don't read before bed, I keep too much of the day and I start having
Hmm.
these dreams or like manifesting, to-do lists and things. So that's really that's part of my daily practice to try to zone out and really disconnect from the work. Yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant. I love it. All
Yeah.
right, we're almost at our time here, but before we go, I wanted to ask, have you got anything upcoming, anything that our viewers and listeners would like to know about?
Yeah, I'm just launching these new cohort learning groups, which is really exciting to me. So, anyone that's part of a community, a foundation, if they're a nonprofit convener, if they're a local government convener, I've been partnering with a couple so far, and there's more on the horizon or we're engaging groups of organizations, groups of local leaders from local cities and things to come together and go through a 6-session process where they get to learn the pause skills, they get to coordinate and network with each other, and then they get one-on-one coaching. So they not only get the how and why, and
Hmm.
then they get to do over 3 weeks and get that coaching support, but they get to really collaborate and share the learning, even if they have many different diverse challenges. So I have one launching next week. I have another one launching after that. And so that's what I'm really excited about right now, is finding more partners to help spread that model, to really help more in the community, like more people connect.
Got it. And so if people are interested, can they just connect with you on LinkedIn? Is that the best way to do it?
Yes, that'd be great. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to respect everyone's time. We are bang on 11 a.m. At least
Okay.
where we are here.
Okay.
So I want to take this moment to Heather. Thank you so much for your time with us today, and sharing, and just the work that you're doing to help uncover the hidden potential
Yeah.
in all these organizations so that they can have more impact. And I love that you're out there kind of no more status quo,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
kind of bringing it to the people.
That's
And
right.
so thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone who tuned in for your comments and for your attention. And if you missed this and you want to see the replay, it's going to be available on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And in 2 weeks, join me, because the next Impact Tribe Live is going to be August 22nd, when I'll be having my special guest all the way from the UK, I think, unless she's going to be in the States, I'm not sure. Sam Eaton, who is the founder of Mindability Consultancy. She's also a keynote speaker, an author, and a podcast host, and just a really amazing, beautiful human being. So tune in for that. Until then, thank you, everyone. And thanks again, Heather. Have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.